I'm Professor Katie Slocombe, and I work trying to understand how our own behaviour as humans might have evolved. And I do that by trying to study other animals, quite a lot, other primates that we're really closely related to try and work out what similarities and differences there are between humans and other primates, to try and work out when things in our evolutionary past might have evolved and what's special about humans, but also what's special about other species and what we might have in common. We were studying wild chimpanzees in the Kibale forest in Uganda, and we were working with the community called Ngogo. And this is one of the largest chimpanzee communities known in the world, but they have actually recently just split into two separate communities. So there's now about 120 chimpanzees in one and about 80 chimpanzees in the other. And it was with this community that we were working, trying to look at infant-mother interactions. And so we did a lot of filming of the chimpanzees, and we were filming them the day that we made our discovery of the showing gesture. So what was really special about what we observed between Fiona and her mother was it's the first instance that we think we've seen where they seem to just be trying to get the other's attention to look at this leaf that I've got, just for the sake of sharing attention about it. So up until this observation, we thought that was something that was really special to humans. So humans undoubtedly are special in that we have a really large motivation to share experiences and attention with each other. So young children, as young as 9 months, will share attention with their mothers and fathers about stuff that they find interesting in the world. So they don't point something out because they want it. They point it out because they're just saying, "Hey, cool! Look at that! Isn't that awesome?" But that motivation just to share for sharing's sake, we thought was something really special to humans. And this is the first observation that actually maybe chimpanzees, although they clearly don't do it very often, maybe they are capable of sometimes doing this same thing and sharing attention with others just for the sake of sharing. Yeah, so leaf grooming is a slightly odd behaviour that we don't understand it, all the ins and outs of yet. So it's where a chimpanzee will pluck a leaf from a plant nearby in the forest, and then they do this with it. And it looks for all the world like they're grooming it. So they're manipulating it with their fingers. Sometimes they'll put their lips to it like this, and they really inspect it very, very closely. We don't really know or why they do it. So there've been suggestions that sometimes if they've been grooming themselves or they've been grooming another individual, sometimes they may find a parasite and then they put it on the leaf and then they're trying to poke it and inspect it on the leaf, and having it on a leaf just makes it a kind of a better visual background maybe for the inspection. So that's one idea of why they do it. But they do also sometimes leaf grooming when they haven't been grooming themselves or another. So we're not really sure why they do it. It could be that they just like the sensation, a bit like worry beads in humans, that they might just like the sensation of having something to manipulate. Maybe they do it when they want to be groomed. We're not really sure. Yes, it's a really good question. So I think it slightly changes the question that we're asking. So I think before the question was, why did humans evolve this? So what made this adaptive for humans to do this, and what was special about humans that this is only seen in humans? If this evidence and more evidence supports the fact that chimpanzees in very specific circumstances do choose to do this as well, then it changes that question not from kind of what changed in humans to make this possible, but it's more about the frequency with which this is happening. So what changed in human evolution to motivate us to do this a lot more than maybe our last common ancestor with the chimpanzees would have done it. But if we're acknowledging that the capacity is there in chimps, it's no longer about trying to understand how that capacity arose. It's more about trying to understand why there was a change in motivation. Why do humans find this a really rewarding behavior that we engage in really, really frequently, in comparison to chimps who seem capable of it, but engage in it really, really rarely? Yeah, it's a life that I absolutely love and I feel very privileged to have lived. And it's very basic living. It's a very remote camp in the middle of a rainforest, usually. Um, with you tend to go out to town to get food and supplies maybe every week, maybe every other week. It's drinking rainwater that comes off the roof. And I hate the food. It's beans and rice, and then rice and beans, and then it's beans and rice, and I hate beans. So that's probably one of the worst aspects for me, is the diet. And the also, I don't like the biting insects. So in the forest, you get a lot of ants that I react really badly to. Hairy caterpillars are horrible, and so I think those are the things that I find most personally challenging. Are the itching from the biting insects and beans. I just really don't like beans.